Hey, welcome to Frisky Talk 003, featuring our special guest Paul Sawyer, a career DJ and producer who has unique and experienced perspectives on the whole electronic music scene. He's the owner of the Krafted collection of labels and host of multiple shows, including Textures on Frisky. We had such a fun chat about the music industry, from his time in Ibiza in the mid-90s to why he took a break and what motivates him to continue today. We cover my favorite subject of progressive music, and he gives great insights in how to become successful in today's climate. So thank you for listening, everyone. Please enjoy Frisky Talk 003 with Paul Sawyer. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, you?
Yeah, pretty good. I was just catching up on what was going on with you, and I saw in your bio that you do some writing, like you do some music journalist stuff.
I do, yeah. Funny enough, I've just started working for a Schweier magazine.
Oh, nice.
It's quite a glossy magazine, so I was really pleased to be asked to do something for them.
That's awesome. What are you doing?
Well, I've just finished an article which is the top 20 tracks for the summer.
Oh, nice.
And it comes out at the end of May to coincide with the opening of a Schweier, basically. So that was quite a nice one to be doing. And I spent probably about a month on it, basically getting in touch with all the big labels and getting some promos off of them all and sort of trying to whittle it down to 20. And it was quite hard, actually. I didn't realise how hard that was going to be.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's cool.
Yeah.
Did you find a bunch of new tracks that you liked in the process?
I did, yeah. And it was what I like about doing the journalism part is it opens up contacts for me, basically, that I wouldn't normally be in contact with, because obviously I'm helping them out, and in return they're going to be helping me out. So it's great, really, from that perspective.
What else are you up to?
Well, I've just finished a remix for Robbie Rivera.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
For Juicy on Armada. So I was really pleased to be asked to work on that one. So that's all finished. I finished that yesterday. I was in the studio yesterday morning just putting some final touches on it. I just had another track signed today by Marshall Jefferson. That was this morning.
Wow, that's exciting.
So that was quite good. So yeah. So yeah, from the music perspective, it's been a good weekend.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you generally just spend a lot of time? Are you working on your own stuff, or are you, when it comes, do you get like remix requests and you have to?
Yeah, it's a bit of everything, really. I mean, I mainly concentrate on my own stuff. I also work with my friend Simon Sinfield. So we make mainly progressive house when we work together. When I work on my own, it's a bit of it's more sort of tech house with a progressive touch to it. Because the progressive house is really it's the music I love the most. So that's my background, basically. So when I make music, you can hear it comes through. But I try and make it a little bit tougher and a bit more techy, so it's more club orientated. Because the clubs here in the UK, if you play progressive and a complete progressive set, they wouldn't like it, basically. Techno is really the big thing over here at the moment. But it's quite funny actually when you talk about techno, because most of the techno you hear really is progressive house.
Yeah, it's funny. I keep that keeps coming up, and it's funny to see it. I guess because it's like the term progressive became kind of a dirty word in the industry, so people still wanted to hear that sound, but started calling it techno, which is funny because like at the start, I remember when I first started getting into the music that techno was like this generic term.
Yeah.
For like all electronic music, like people that didn't listen to it, they're like, oh, you listen to techno, and you're like, it's not techno, it's trance, you know. So it's kind of funny that it's come back to be like a very specific genre.
It is funny how it goes round and round, really. I mean, obviously, I've been involved in the music scene since the early '90s, so I've seen it evolve and change and go back so many different times. But yeah, I mean, it's good though, because obviously the scene is quite alive at the moment. I mean, it's been through times where obviously the house music scene dropped off, and the DJs stopped earning all their money and doing really well, but it seems to have turned around again. That seems to be worldwide as well.
For you, for producing tracks and for DJing, is that what you feel like is back on the rise? Like, how do you judge it, or just people coming out and shows and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, there's more and more shows. There's lots and lots of big festivals, and obviously those festivals are booking some huge lineups now, aren't they? Really, everywhere. So, they're not just bands. I mean, obviously we went through a time where festivals were more about bands, but they seem to be quite a lot about the DJs now.
Yeah.
I drove past a poster today actually, and it had 50 Cent was headlining, and then underneath it was Roger Sanchez. And you think, well, you know, that is a massive extreme, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess just people want music.
People that are into 50 Cent would be listening to Roger Sanchez. But
yeah, I don't know how they picked that booking. That's kind of funny.
Yeah. But I'm sure it's probably the same over there in the States as well.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like Coachella, and it's the same thing where you've got like pop bands then with Sasha, but it's like a huge festival.
Yeah. I think that's why festivals work though, because it's not just that one particular genre of music, and people might get a bit bored of it. They, you know, if they want to have a break and they want to listen to something else, they can. And you know, and it's nice to be able to open your ears up to something that you possibly might not have heard before as well.
Yeah, definitely, that's true.
Yeah.
Now you do Krafted events too, right? You do like Krafted nights and.
We do, yeah. We're just planning our next one at Egg in London at the moment.
Nice.
Which is on the 1st of July. So we're looking at doing a pre-party for this one as well, somewhere in the King's Cross area. So we're just trying to book a bar at the moment, which will sort of run from late afternoon into sort of about midnight, and then we'll go from midnight into 9 o'clock in the morning at Egg.
Oh wow, that's fun.
Yeah. So it's a long night, but the events at Egg they're just amazing. Always so good. The atmosphere is brilliant. People are friendly, and you know it's good when you're coming out of the club at 9 in the morning and you think, oh my god, where did that time go?
That's awesome. How many generally DJs do you have? Like, how long are the sets?
They range from an hour to 2 hours, basically. It depends on what time we start in the room that we host, because we basically host a room at the club, because it's a huge club. But they love their techno there as well. But we don't tend to play techno, funny enough, in our room. we mix it up a little bit. I think because they have techno in the main room, we try and do something that's not the same, basically.
Yeah, that's fun.
And it's a good way of showcasing some of the people that are signed to our labels as well, doing the events there.
Do you have any favorites DJs that you've seen, at these events that you've hosted that you think are really something special? I'm sure you can say about all of them, but I'm going to put you on the spot for one or two.
Well, as in artists that we've got signed to us?
Yeah. And that, like he has been at these shows, that people are really resonating with.
I mean, there's so many, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
We try and rotate people as much as we can, just give everybody a chance. But there's one of the DJs that we had on I don't know, about 3 or 4 of the events. There's a girl called Laura Harvey, and she's really good actually. She plays very similar sort of music to me. So we did a back-to-back set on one of them, and that worked really well.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, yeah. Because I don't tend really to do very many back-to-back sets. Sometimes it doesn't work very well, but luckily musically we were quite well matched, so that worked really well.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a fun way to build up the energy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So do you spin at them too? At the
I normally play at all of them. We were doing Ministry of Sound as well. We were rotating between Ministry of Sound and Egg. So every other month we'd be at one of those clubs. But we were finding it quite difficult to get enough people to each one every single month.
Mm.
So I thought this year we'd scale it down a bit, just concentrate on Egg. And that seems to be working better for us, really.
How many people is it?
Well, I think it holds about 3,000, something like
wow.
that. So, yeah, so it's a pretty big club and lots of people.
Are you DJing elsewhere as well?
Yeah, I've got coming up. I've got an event in Southampton, which is for Twisted on the 24th of June, and that's Constant Circles label showcase. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that actually. So that's just her basically who's as well. So obviously she's got a show on Frisky as well. And I've been a fan of Claire for a long time actually. I really like her music. So it'd be nice to be. I've never played with her actually. Funny enough. I think. Actually, no. She played at Egg one night when I played there, but we were in different rooms. But this time we'll be in the same room basically. So that'd be the first time.
Is it pretty tight, like the industry where you are, your community?
It is actually. The more you get yourself involved in it, the more you realise it is. It's quite a small community actually when you get to get into it, and it's surprising who knows who actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's never good to burn any bridges.
Yeah, that's true. That's always part of always having that respect.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear actually some of the start, because like you said, you've been in this industry, you said, since the early 90s, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, how did it first start with you?
Well, basically, I used to drive my brother. He was a DJ before me, so he played in all the big raves in the late 80s, early 90s.
Awesome.
And they were, huge, great events, sort of between 3,000 and 10,000 people and plus. And I used to stand up on the stage and watch them DJ and thinking, God, I'd love to have a go at this.
How old were you?
Oh, blimey, I was 18, 19, something like that.
That's awesome. How
fun. And obviously my brother had decks at home, so I decided to have a go. But I didn't really want to play the music he played. It was all, it was all hardcore and rave.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked house music right back then.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the clubs started to play house music in and around London. And I met a friend who was already DJing, and he gave me a chance to play at this club called the House of Windsor. And he said, "Oh, you can warm up for this DJ. He's called Sasha." I was like, "Oh, okay."
How cool.
Then I realised who it was, and oh my God, I was so nervous. You would not believe how nervous I was.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I could hardly hold the record needle. It was ridiculous.
And it was just this was the first time you were, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I warmed up for Sasha the first time I ever played it. But yeah, brilliant experience. And then that was it, I was done. luckily that summer, funny enough, I got asked to play the Ibiza as well. So I went out there, played there. Carl Cox was playing. They really liked what I played and asked me back for the summer season the following year, which was 1994. So I went out there, spent 3 months playing every single night.
Wow.
And Carl Cox was weekly resident where I was playing. I played with the Prodigy and all sorts of big bands, and it was just so good. And that kick-started my DJ career, basically. So I came back to the UK and I was in a record shop in Southampton, and this guy said to me, "Oh, I've heard about you playing in Ibiza. Would you like to start a night in Southampton?" So I said, "Yeah, I'm definitely interested in that." And we started these boat parties, and they blew up. We had every single DJ you can imagine playing on there, and there was only 300 people. Sasha and Digweed even played for us for free just so they could play on there. Good.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was just amazing. But from 94, 95, right through to 2000, it was just unbelievable, that journey. Really, we were sort of touring everywhere and playing all sorts of places, and I couldn't believe it really how it blew up. The sort of the scene then was just amazing. When you consider there was no social media or anything like that, it was all basically from the printed magazines and the newspapers and word of mouth. It was so powerful then, I would say, compared to now where everybody's relying on social media to get the word out there. It's so much easier to reach out to thousands of people.
Yeah, easier, but then not necessarily better. It just seems like with the organic.
Yeah, not necessarily more successful either.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, the social media is saturated now, isn't it? So
yeah.
Trying to get yourself noticed is it's not easy.
Yeah, and it's more throwaway, I think. Like trying to get music out, and it's not lasting, and you have to constantly be like in front of people.
Yeah. I mean, you could have a record out tomorrow and it's forgotten about a week later.
Yeah.
But when it was back in the 90s, when it was vinyl only, a piece of vinyl would come out and it would last for months.
Yeah.
You can say that about some tracks that are groundbreaking tracks. People do play them for a long time, but even now, though, even those big tracks, that you might play them for a couple of months, and that's probably it, really.
Yeah, and you probably don't remember. I mean, you can remember records from the 90s. Now you remember what it looks like and what it sounds like, and now I can't remember, a track that was out last year. Now.
Yeah, it's funny actually because when I used to play vinyl, I would know the track just from the sleeve that was in my box. So when I transferred to using digital, I found it so hard to remember what the tracks were, because obviously you've got to remember the names and the track title, and perhaps you've got to remember what the label it was on, it's just impossible. So
Yeah, for sure. So when you were DJing every night for 3 months in Ibiza, did you, how many records did you have? Were you like constantly rotating, or did you have your go-to sets?
Yeah, I mean, I was quite lucky really, because I think it was about 3 record boxes I took over there, but because I was playing, it was called Star Club then, which is now Eden. So we were doing lots of big nights there. So every time I was doing them, a lot of the DJs would come out and bring promos with them, and so they'd give tracks, vinyl to me. It was brilliant. And obviously there's record stores in Ibiza as well, so you could keep up with it, to be honest, back then.
So how many did you end up going back home with?
Oh, quite a lot. Yeah, it cost me a lot of money to get back.
Can you think of some of your favorite like go-to tracks at that time? Like what your I don't know, your gems?
Do you remember a track by Grace, Not Over Yet?
Yes.
Yeah, that was massive then.
Yes.
I remember that, yeah. I spent a long time trying to get that piece of art. and I was lucky enough to get one right before it was really widely available. So I was really lucky basically. So yeah, that was one of the big ones back then.
Now, as a DJ, how do you pick out your tracks to try to be stand out and try to find those?
Well, I get sent a lot of promos, and I mean, I'd probably get 300 or 400 a week, something like that.
Yeah, how do you sort of sit down and go through them? Do you set aside time or
I do, yeah.
yeah.
I try and set aside, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 hours a couple of times a week.
Yeah. Wow.
It's really hard actually because you can't listen to all of them, and it's a shame because you probably do miss some gems. And you tend to have those particular PR companies or labels that you go to and you trust and you know that they're going to send you some decent music. Um, but every now and then I'll open up something that's come through out of the blue just to see what it's like. Um, and then what I try and do is I whittle it down. I've got a couple of folders on my desktop basically, so I always have progressive house and tech house in separate folders. Um, and then obviously because of my radio shows every month, that's the main thing that I sort out first. So my radio shows, I always pick out the music for those first, um, and then it pretty much goes towards what I play in the clubs. But then I play a bit tougher in the club, so there's more tech house than there is progressive in the club mix playlist that I put together. Um, and then I've got it's quite a long process what I go through. I put them all mixed in key, so I know what key they're all in. So I make sure that I never mix out of key, and then I run them all through Record Box as well. Then I number everything, and then I put them in folders, and it takes so long.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot of work. Do you like, there's such advantages and disadvantages of being a DJ now versus then, but do you like all the having that options now, all those options and not having to carry record boxes, or is there something you miss about
Oh yeah,
having the
it's not
selection?
much better for your back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is nice actually. It took me a while to get used to it after playing vinyl so long. But I've got to say that playing digitally is better. The sound quality is better. I can flick through the folders so quickly and chop and change from sets. I've got sets that go back from last couple of years from festivals and things like that. And when the vibe's right, and you think, hold on a minute, I know that this is going to work here, so I can flick back into that folder and bring something back in from a couple of years ago. So that it's great from that perspective. If that was vinyl, you couldn't do that unless you carried 100 boxes with you. So from that perspective, it's brilliant.
Yeah, do you think there's too much saturation of DJs because it's easier in a way now, or do you think it just opens up the opportunity?
Um, it has opened up opportunities for more people to be able to do it and to be able. And unfortunately, you've got lots and lots of young DJs who will play for free, who will sell tickets and get some sets. But at the end of the day, you've got to have the talent and you've got to have everything that goes with DJing and producing and PR, and you have to invest in it to have any sort of success. So just being a bedroom DJ, playing lots of music you've downloaded off of SoundCloud or whatever Beatport, it's not enough, I don't think. So the ones that put the effort in, I think, shine through at the end of the day.
Nice. That's good advice. Well, I just think of all these DJs coming up and that there's something that they could learn from somebody like you who's been around it for so long. Is there anything else I mean, that in itself is you have to put the effort into it and probably more to your music than just promoting yourself.
Yeah, I think being a DJ nowadays, I think you've got to be a producer. you never used to have to be that, but it seems to be that everybody, they want to see the DJ that's behind the tracks they've been listening to. That seems to be really important now. And in some ways, I think that's good because, like I was saying about, if you're putting the effort into it, it will shine through. So if you're putting the effort into making your own music and paying a PR company to get your music out there, and you're showing your commitment. So if you're showing that commitment, I think people will commit to you. And obviously there are disappointments along the way as well. And any young DJ that wants any sort of advice, I think you've got to realise that it's so up and down. And even when you've had success, you've got to put up with all the disappointment, and it just goes with it, I think, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. And in life in general, for sure, that you just have to continue to persevere and be passionate about. Now, did you have a time, like you said, you were doing all these parties up until 2000?
Yeah.
And do you feel like there was a time, I know the industry kind of got shitty.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I mean, I took 5 years out, to be honest.
Yeah.
I did, yeah. I got so fed up with it.
Yeah.
The trouble is, when it was really, really good, it was brilliant. I was playing all sorts of places and did really, really good gigs. And then it got to a stage where the whole scene seemed to sort of fizzle out a bit. And then I was doing gigs just for the money, and I just thought, this is rubbish. So I basically took 5 years out, and it was the best thing I did, really, because when I came back, it was all nice and fresh, and it was the worst part about it. It was almost like starting again, and learning all the new digital way of DJing and everything. But it didn't take long really to get back into it. I put the effort in. I called up all my old contacts. They put me in touch with all the new contacts, and it was just flew from there, really.
So what about Krafted? When did that start? How did that start?
Well, Krafted really started 2014, so not that long ago, really. I was running my own label called EJ Underground for a couple of years before that, and then I met Darren, who's one of the business partners. We were hosting an event at Brighton Music Conference, basically. And it seemed to work really well working together. And we said, look, why don't we merge our labels together? He was running Endemic Digital at the time. So we did that and created Krafted, basically. So when we first created it, we kept the original names of the labels going. And then we thought, well, hold on a minute, everybody's starting to know us as Krafted. So really the label should be called Krafted. And we renamed them last year, basically.
Yeah, and you've got the bunch of sub labels.
Yeah,
the umbrella.
Yeah. We used to have more, but we had 11 labels at one point.
That's a lot of work.
Oh, it is. It's a lot of music.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
It was too time consuming, to be honest. So we've got it down to. There's two main labels, really. It's Krafted Underground and Krafted Digital. And Krafted Digital is tech house. Krafted Underground is sort of progressive house, really, and sort of melodic techno, if you like. The two genres that really, what I'm about, really.
What would you say are your main goals for the label?
I would love to think that the label would become one of those labels that everybody would go to buy music or to listen to the music. When you think about those big labels, there's the obvious ones, Tool Room and Defected and all those big labels that you hear about all the time, and you know that every time something comes out, everybody wants to listen to it. I'd love to be able to be at that point where Krafted is on the end of someone's conversation saying, you've got to listen to Krafted. They're brilliant. Everything they bring out is so good. And we get people like Pete Tong and Kolsch and all those people playing our stuff on Radio One, and but if it was all the time, that's when you've got to that point.
Well, it seems with having a definitive sound like you guys are doing and doing the live shows, that's something that brings people to recognize, like, oh, this is a Krafted sound.
Yeah. Hopefully people do, they go to the label and they think, well, that is a constant sound that they're always releasing. We never used to be like that, funny enough. When I was doing EJ Underground years ago, I'd release all genres of house music. But I realised that obviously it doesn't suit everybody. If you've got a release and someone buys into it and then they go back the following month, say, and it's a completely different genre, and they think, well, that label's not really doing it for me, so they never come back. So it was quite important to keep the consistency.
Yeah, for sure. What about your personal goals and your personal philosophy for your music?
Yeah, it's funny really, because I still think there's a lot for me to achieve. I want to be able to have my tracks signed to some of the bigger labels as well as releasing on mine. This year I had a track out on Juicy through Armada, which is my biggest signing to date, basically. And I've signed a 4-single deal with them, so I've got another 3 tracks to come out on Armada. So that was really exciting to have signed that. And I've just been working on a track with my other business partner from LA, which is pure tech house, and that is aiming really at Tool Room, someone like that. I'd like to have a track out with them. Really, we license music to Tool Room for their compilations, and Mark Knight plays a lot of our stuff as well. But I've not had one of my own tracks licensed to them, so I'd like to have that opportunity at some stage.
Is there any artists that you like, other producers that you would really want to do a track with?
There's lots actually. I'd love to track with Dubfire. He's one of my favourite producers. Undercat from Italy. I'd love to do something with them. They're just amazing. Every single track that they bring out I play all their music. And Solomon as well. They suit the sort of thing I play really. I'd love to have a track on Dynamic as well, but we'll have to see. One day.
I can't believe we've gone through half an hour already. This has been fun. Is there anything else that you want to add, say, promote?
I've got a release coming out on Suffused Music actually, which is it's a progressive track. I did it with Simon Sinfield, so I've been looking forward to that coming out. We made that, blimey, probably 8 or 9 months ago. So it's taken a little while to come out, but it's everywhere in the end.
nice to meet you and talk to you, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Feeling frisky?